Do you find yourself being judgy, like being really mean to yourself when you're learning? This episode is for you. We're going to transform all those judgments into just simply observations. Hello, my beautiful, gorgeous dance baby, and welcome to another episode of More Than Dance. Today, we are talking about how to observe without judgment. Now, I know we can sit here and define, like we understand what observation is. And I know that you're probably already asking, well, aren't you judging if you're observing something to improve? And the answer is no. There's a way that you can observe something and take it in for the information that it's bringing you without being mean to yourself, without judging yourself, without thinking that you need to be better for any specific sort of reason. Judgment happens very quickly. And you might start with my favorite, awareness. The awareness around your judgment. We make observations every day. All throughout the day, we're making observations. We look out the window. We're observing that it's precipitating. We look over into the kitchen and we're observing like, hey, you're running low on yogurt. We go to the bathroom and we're like, oh, hey, like, gotta remind myself, like, we gotta get more soap. These are all observations that we're making. And what is it about needing more soap and reminding ourselves that we need more soap that doesn't have judgment? However, if you're a dancer and you're on the dance floor and you're like, you just messed up that choreography, it's not the same type of observation. And that's what we're going into here. For whatever reason, forgetting a moment in choreography means all of a sudden that you're bad at this routine. When you miss a count, you're thinking, well, you're behind everyone. Comparison. When you're struggling with a move, you can go right into, well, I'll never get this. So when we observe, we're finding some type of conclusion. And when you observe with judgment, that conclusion is a negative one about yourself. So once we are able to become aware that we are doing that, and you might already be sitting there being like, yep, I definitely do that. So you might already be aware, but what if you're not? So let's talk about how you can first become aware. The first thing to do is when you're having a moment, and you'll know when you're having this moment because your body language and your posture will be different. It's almost like you'll be in a situation and you'll be presenting a certain way. You might be erect in your posture. You might be lifted. You might be outwardly projecting performance quality. You could be standing with proper body language with your arms open, ready to receive. When this stuff is going on in your head, your outward appearance will shift and it will look slouchy. Your arms might cross. You'll be looking down. You'll kind of lack eye contact. There will be no performance quality. There'll be frustration. There might be sighs. You might be more in that mood to like leave. Your fight or flight might be activating. So when you're feeling that, it's important to know that it has already started. It has already happened. You have already stepped into the zone of making judgments about yourself. Judgments come up quick, especially at dance, especially when you are a beginner. You're comparing. Talk about this all the time. Comparison is just a horrible thing to do to yourself. It's just mean. Don't do it. Say no to comparison. Episode 2. It's a great episode. Listen to it. There is a way to have these findings about what just went on and to not beat yourself up about it. When I'm taking a class, I very rarely will beat myself up. In dance, when I'm messing up, I'm just like, ha ha ha, I messed up. I get excited sometimes actually when I mess up. I'm like, how can I cover that up? Without anyone knowing. I don't like to mess up, obviously. When I'm struggling with something, I find it just exciting. And I think it's because I've grown up dancing. So I have a lot of confidence in myself with dance. So I don't have to really question it. But when you're building a new skill, you don't have the confidence to lean on yet. So you're not able to say like, all right, well, I'll get it next time because you don't know that. You cannot lean on that for support. So what to do instead? One is to understand that it's a time thing. If a bunch of observations, I'm going to call them observations, not judgments. If a bunch of observations are coming to you while you're observing yourself dance, the time bracket is too short for the amount of observations you're making. Meaning in 1 minute, if you're telling yourself you missed the beat, you forgot the choreography, you turned the other way, you're messing up, like that's 4 and 10 seconds. times a minute, that's 4 times every 10 seconds. Do the math. Too many. Understand that there's a ton of observations. It reminds me of science class when we would make observations. They would tell us to like look at the plant every day or look at the butterfly cocoon every day and just like make observations. And I'd always kind of wonder like, when am I done making all these observations? Like I could sit here and like really, really write everything down. But I think the biggest thing is to understand the big one. What's the big one of that day? And this goes back to picking one thing. Episode 81, picking one thing, another episode to re-listen to if you haven't already. Find your observation, choose one of them to hone in on, let the other one slide off. I think of it like, those like natural water slides, just like let them go, let them release down over there. There's only so much you can better yourself at a time. So that's step 1, understanding your time component. 2 is knowing that it's not permanent. Making one mistake in one routine for one night is not a permanent thing. Have some type of alleviation in that where it's like, okay, I just noticed that one thing and I get to change it when I can find myself more focused, better aligned, less in the I'm screwing this up and more in the look at me go. I'm doing something new. 3 is to understand that it's fluctuating always. When we dance, the way that we are with one movement one day could be the exact different way the next day. And the next is to be realistic. Missing something doesn't graduate from missing that move to now you're just a terrible dancer. That's over-exaggeration. So we want to be realistic with it and say like, okay, yeah, you missed a step. Okay, yeah, you turned the other way. Okay, yeah, you were not supposed to go down to the floor at that time. And at the same time, we're supposed to make mistakes. Things are supposed to be difficult when we're doing something difficult. Otherwise, what the heck are we doing? Then it would just be easy. When you keep yourself in the placement of judging all the time, you're blocking yourself from the learning experience, which can actually be really fun if you can let go. The learning process is forgiving when you let it be forgiving. The learning process can be silly and fun, experimental, playful, and it can also be really hard, time-consuming, stressful, annoying, confusing. And the question I have for you is, which side do you want the learning process to feel like? Do you want it to feel bright, light, refreshing, and positive? Or do you want it to feel gloomy and horrible and like it's something that you don't want to do? I imagine you chose option A, where it's feeling exciting. The process of that is alleviating some of your stressors through the idea that you don't have to observe everything so thoroughly. You can actually choose to say, I want to get better at that, and I'm going to worry about that at a different time. Or I'm going to think about those types of skills as more advanced skills, and I'm going to get better at that later on. When we're learning, we want to just take it all in. And if we're not taking it right in the way that we think that we would, we think, oh my gosh, I'm not doing it right. There is actually a way to do it right, and it's called messy action. And it's making messy action towards your goal of dancing and knowing that it doesn't have to be a certain way. There's no certain way to dance. There's actually no timeline to learn how to dance. People learn dance in a bunch of different ways. We want to feel curious when we're learning how to dance and not defeated. Something that's interesting about dance is when we're learning, we're obviously in front of a mirror. I can't think of a better tool to make you judge than a mirror. So sometimes learning to not judge and learning to observe is to improve the relationship with your reflection in the mirror. And there's a great episode on this, episode 86, if you haven't listened to that one. It's all about improving your relationship with your mirror. Aside from the mirror, there's also the teacher and there's the other dancers in the class, and it might feel like everyone's watching. They're not. Everyone is so in tune with their own learning process that they're not noticing you and your mistakes. They're noticing that you're there and that you're working as hard as they are. They might feel your energy subtly, unless it's horrible energy. They're definitely going to notice that. Judgment becomes this habit. And unless we stop it, we continue with the habit. Because observation and judgment are so closely tied, we really have to be the real scientist detective here and really be the smart one to say oh, wait, hold on a second. I just did that. I got to wean off of being so mean or being so critical, really is what it is. It's being so critical. It's like grading yourself with a rubric that was designed for college students, but you're in first grade. So use the right rubric. And then this observation and judgments, they can turn into obsession, and you could fester in one of these things like, oh, this is a skill that I'm never good at. And then you're making absolutes. And these absolutes are teaching you to avoid certain choreography or to avoid certain styles of dance. And the truth is, you'd be surprised what you can achieve when you have the healthiest mindset going into the learning process. Something that will help you remember an observation is going to feel fine after you make it. A judgment is going to feel like you just attacked your own self. So an observation will be like, I want to do this more. I want to repeat this more so I can get it. Or I didn't get that part yet. A judgment is a little deeper than that, and it attacks like your personality and your quality. It's like, you're not a good learner. Now you have this thought in your head that feels real because you're currently experiencing it. And when you're thinking about dance, you're thinking, well, you're not a good learner. So how are you going to learn that routine? And because our brains are so, oh my gosh, they're so good and so bad at the same time. Like, we can latch on to that one sentence and remember it forever. Meaning you can go to any other class now that you made that one judgment and say, well, I want to learn this, but I'm not a good learner. Have you ever heard someone say that? I hear that all the time, probably because I'm a dance teacher, but someone will say, I have 2 left feet, or I'm not a good dancer. And I'm like, who the heck told you that? No one told you that. I didn't tell you that. It's sad. It definitely saddens me to hear people like already judge themselves, but then carry the judgment with them through every single process. So that person who learned dance and maybe had a horrible experience with it because they weren't in tune enough with themselves to know to like speak to themselves nicer, they treat themselves poorly in the experience. So then they took that one experience and took it to any other thing that was active and said, I'm not athletic. Oh, I can't do anything that's physical because I don't do that. When actually they probably could if they had a different outlook. So when you're thinking about like, oh, how do I distinguish these? One is healthier. It's going to feel more like you're doing research and you're saying like, oh, I noticed this. Ooh, okay, I want to improve on that, this, and this. And the other zone, the more judgmental zone, is going to feel like you're the critic. You were the movie critic or the food critic that you came in. I always think about Ratatouille, I think, when he comes in and he's like definitely about to critique it. And like even like in a cartoon body, it's intimidating. So if you have the choice, definitely be the researcher. Be the one who's finding out details so you can take those details to improve versus taking those details to shoot yourself down. And because dance is so much more than dance, and this is the More Than Dance podcast, it would only make sense that we touched upon how this can help you in real life situations. There's so many judgments that are being made. Like, for instance, if you're doing a job interview and you don't get that position, you might draw your conclusion, and your conclusion is, I'm not good at interviewing. Well, you just didn't get that job. It wasn't for you. Or it could be that you are on a weight transformation journey and, it's very difficult for you. And you might be like saying, oh, well, you're bad at discipline, and saying, what's wrong with me? There are things that are happening with relationships and work and your relationship with your own self-trust, where actually the question can be, what's happening here? And it's nothing to do with what's wrong with you. So I do have some reflection questions for you. And the first is, what do I usually judge first? The second is, what would that moment sound like as an observation without judgment? And the third is a really great exercise, and it's to think of another relationship. So it could be you as the teacher or you as a friend, and it's how would you talk to a student who's experiencing that? Or how would you talk to your friend who was experiencing that? Being able to observe without judgment is going to keep the doors open for you to wanting to grow as a better dancer. You'll stay longer, you'll take more risks, you'll improve faster, and your body will even be more relaxed while you're in the process of learning. So I hope that you're able to take this thought with you. And as we talked about before, first it's becoming aware that you're being judgy. And the second is changing the way that you're seeing it. It's not a problem with you. It's, I want to work on that some more. I want to repeat that. I want to go over that. Drawing a conclusion that doesn't hurt you is the goal. Drawing a conclusion where it's not about you, it's about what it is that you're learning. I didn't hit that move on the beat. Okay, that's it. Not, I'm bad at musicality. So dramatic. So I hope that you use this episode as a reminder to be kinder and nicer to yourself and to others. You don't want to be a judger. Making observations is completely natural. It's a great skill to have. So if this was helpful for you, it would mean the world to me if you shared this with a friend or on your Instagram. This is one of the best ways that this podcast can be shared with someone just like you on their dance journey. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the dance floor.